The last few words my dad told me before he died. Today I wanted to do a video about this. So I grew up in an Indian home, a typical Indian home, where you grew up having two names. So my one name is Kareen, that most people know me by, and then I had a home name for some unknown reason, and that was Shannon. My dad, a year earlier, had gone blind in one of his eye, and he was basically had home on medical leave, and my mom had passed away, and I remember he came home and he said, "I need to have a very serious conversation with you." He said, "I've been diagnosed with cancer and I don't have much time to live, and I was hanging in there for your mom. But I always wanted to say you this, and I never got around to telling you this, but I wanted you to know this." He said to me, using my home name, Shannon, he said, "Shannon, I wanted you to know that you are somebody that can make it in life. I've watched you from the time you was a young child growing up into a young woman, and I've watched your tenacity, and I've watched the way you dealt with failure, and I watched the way you've learned from failure. And deep down within me, I knew that even if I'm not around, I know that you will make it in life." And a week later, he passed away. It's now gone 13 years that my daddy's gone to heaven, and I cannot tell you the amount of times I went back and I relived that moment my dad had with me, where he reassured me that I can make it in life. There's been many times where I've gone through valley experiences without even having a support system to lean into, or anybody to even say, "This is what I'm going through." But those words that my dad left with me was the greatest treasure. It was the treasure that helped me push through on those really dark days when I battled with depression, on those really dark days through health challenges. So I just wanted to encourage you as a parent today, don't leave that final conversation, don't put off that final conversation for another day. You know, COVID has been such an eye-opener. There's so many of us that have lost loved ones to COVID. And some of these parents and some of the children even didn't even get a chance to say, "Thank you for loving me," or "Thank you for doing this for me," or "I really love this about you." So I just wanted to encourage you today to don't put off that conversation. If you've got a child, tell them what you love about them, what characteristics you love about them, how they look so similar to you. When they do something, how it reminds you of your younger self. What is it that you admire about them? Maybe they are brave, maybe they are courageous, maybe they are pushing through the odds. But have that conversation with your children, because you'll never know. Just like me, it'll be those words that will carry them through those really tough times. For some odd reason, especially in the Indian community, we have Indian fathers that are so emotionally absent. It's as though they expect us to be psychics, to know what they are thinking about, or to know that they are proud of us. When I was growing up, my dad was a great provider. He worked a lot of night shifts to ensure that we had the lifestyle that we had. But you know what? In hindsight, I would have really appreciated him working less and just being there for us. Just having more of those fun moments when we played cards, especially 9 cards. I'm quite good at that. I'll win at that. And just having those moments where he could tell me a lot about his life. You know, towards the end when we had this really serious conversation, I remember him telling me he grew up in a home where it was a very hard home. It was a very harsh home. So when we were growing up, he left us being disciplined to our mom, and she wasn't the greatest at it as well. So, but I just wish he had had that conversation much earlier when I was a kid. Maybe it would have helped me understand him a lot more better. I remember as a teenager, I used to win these awards, the art award for drawing and for painting and stuff. And there was not one ceremony that he attended or was evening that he would attend, but my mom always attended it, and she was my biggest cheerleader. And I never knew how much it meant to my dad unless his brother from Cape Town used to call. And in that conversation, he would brag how talented I was and how I drew just like him and how I painted just like him. And I remember as a young woman sitting on the staircase just to eavesdrop, just to hear what he had to say about my achievements in life. And that's something, parents, you don't want to be. You don't want to be that parent telling the whole world what you think of your kid, except telling your kid. As a young woman and as a child, I was so hungry for that attention from my father. I so desperately wanted to hear from him that I was beautiful, or he thought that I was beautiful, or I was growing into a beautiful woman, or he thought that I was talented, or he thought that I was a kind person. And sometimes when you don't get that attention from your dad, you'll end up looking for it in other people, and you'll end up always with a half-empty cup, wanting people to pour into you. And sadly, sadly in life, two broken people doesn't make a whole person. And what I mean by this is, if you're going to go out in life expecting somebody to fill that cup for you, expecting somebody to fulfill what your parents couldn't fulfill in your life, you're going to go through life really, really disappointed in the relationships that you are in, because it's an unrealistic expectation to expect somebody to fill that void that only your parents could have filled. And maybe you are a broken person today, and maybe your parents have passed on, and maybe you're thinking, so how do I fill that void? Well, for me, it was every time I touched the Bible and every time I read the Bible, I saw the promises of God for my life. I saw the scriptures like Jeremiah 29:11 that says, "For I know the plans I have for you." And guess what? I was stupid enough to put my name in there. So I know the plans I have for you, Corinne. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope in the future. And I cannot tell you the amount of times I had to hang on to that scripture, knowing that God has got a plan for me. And although I cannot see the complete picture, He sees the complete picture, and His plan is perfect for me. And whatever I go through in life is not meant to harm me. It's meant to grow me. Sometimes we look at the bad seasons in our life. We look at the bad things that happen and say, why me? And I remember reading this one article that said, why not you? Why not why not cancer happen to you? Why not poverty happen to you? Why not you experiencing your job loss? Why not you? And I always believe that one day when we all come before God, God's going to hold us accountable. And it's the really, really hard times that actually define you, that adds that flavor to you, that makes you so different from everybody else. So I just wanted to leave this video with you and just to encourage you. For those who don't have parents, maybe you can be a better parent. Maybe you can be better at parenting than they was. And maybe this video can create some kind of awareness in you. Because I believe when you are aware of what you don't have, then you're in the process of giving what you did not have. So thank you, and I would appreciate some feedback on this video if it's helped you in any way. Thank you so much. God bless. When life gives you lemon.